Hello, everyone out there in the MenoMe community. We are thrilled today to be launching our new hair product for hair density and quality. I've been testing it for 18 weeks so far, and I'm really happy with the results that I'm getting, but I'm going to tell you all about that in the near future. Right now, it would give me great pleasure to introduce Paul Sapsford from keraplast.com, who has provided the keraGEN-IV that is the hero in Lotsalocks. We have biotin in there as well, but keraGEN-IV is the hero. So he's going to tell us a little bit about where it's from and how it works and all its magical qualities. Thank you for being with us, Paul.
Hi, Jennifer. It's great to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
So can you tell us a little bit about keraGEN-IV? For a start, where does it come from?
Sheep's wool. So for an ingestible product, it's not obvious that we eat sheep's wool, but Keraplast has been extracting keratin from sheep's wool commercially for the last 20 years, and our science goes back a lot longer than that. So we're quite unique. We came out of the New Zealand Wool Research Organisation a long time ago. They looked at what made coarse wool really special. And it's not just that it's prickly when you wear it as a jumper, but when you break it up, it's full of keratin, and keratin's a really great protein. What's crucial about what we do and sort of differentiates ourselves, our company, from other people that make keratin, is that we make a soluble full protein. I don't want to get too deep into it, but we can if you want to. But effectively, the keratin protein is a dual helix, if you like. It wraps around each other and it's sort of glued together chemically. And our process sort of unglues those two protein strips and stabilizes them, and each of those singular protein then becomes soluble. And so when we go to eat our hair, as some of us do, or eat wool, you know, it's not very digestible, right? But once we've extracted those proteins and taken all the prickly bits around the outside of the wool, what we've ended up with is a soluble protein that's actually digestible, and it can be ingested, and it does some really good things with us. So we've been working on that, on those proteins for, like I said, a long time, the science, before we incorporated the business. We make medical products, so we make products that help wounds heal better. We make gels and a sort of a matrix product for chronic wounds, diabetic ulcers, and so on. We make pharmaceutical products, so APIs for pharmaceutical goods. We make personal care products, so a lot of our products go into shampoos and conditioners right around the world, and skincare type products. And lastly, of course, we make ingestible or nutritional products. And keraGEN-IV is one of these. It's a mix of a couple of our proteins, and it's built in such a way to give some really strong claims around inner beauty. And so from our perspective, inner beauty, best known, if you go to the supermarket, is hair, skin and nails. So that's kind of where we come from. Sheep's wool is remarkably similar to human keratin. So sheep's wool keratin, remarkably similar to the proteins that we have. There's over 90% homology between the two proteins. So we do see some really neat interaction between them. And crucially, sheep's wool keratin just promotes the kind of areas where keratin is found in the human, on our nails, in our skin, and in our hair.
Yeah, because that was the first thing I noticed, actually, was my nails. Before the hair took a bit longer, but the nails are actually quite
the feedback we get from people is, after a couple of weeks, oh my God, what's happened to my nails? You know, they're like rocks. They're stronger, they're more flexible, they're not flaking, they're not breaking as much. I have to cut them all the time from the male side, but you know, that's what we get. The next thing people notice, and generally it's not them but the hairdresser, what have you done to your hair? I'm seeing more coverage. I'm seeing a little bit more growing in the crown, or that little bit where we were talking about, you know, it's just starting to grow out. There's some fibers growing there, and generally the people that are taking keraGEN-IV, they notice it themselves a couple of weeks later. And it's only because our skin's a bit longer to respond, it's only a couple of months into it, maybe 3, people start to say, oh, you've got a bit of a glow about you, what's going on with your skin? And we'll talk about what happens to the skin, but it's quite a nice response. It's a very powerful product. We've had a huge amount of success with it after launching it in the US. And the people that are taking it, they're reporting the same kind of things, that they're seeing their hair stronger, more profuse, healthier. The skin's feeling a lot better, and their nails, like you say, are like rocks.
Yeah, it's quite amazing, because when I first took it, because I come from a beauty background, I was just, I don't know what I was expecting, but I didn't expect what I got. I think I was expecting probably something a bit like extensions or sort of instant volume, but actually what I got, and I was just telling you, wasn't I, David, because I do a few of these videos, and sometimes I'm bending over and I was noticing a gap, you know, a widening of the parting, which is where hair density first leaves the planet for women at this time of life, at your parting. And I was quite devastated by that. It was quite emotional for me, because your hair's kind of quite a trademark for women, I think. And so what I don't have that now, and I'm really excited about that. And there's
that's really neat, isn't it?
More growth coming through there as well. So
I think for men, it's probably more acceptable to have my parting sort of got wider and wider and wider, and it sort of became a feature. But for women, I do understand what you're saying, and as we get older, it can be that our hair becomes more fragile, or we start to lose it. We had a colleague here, she retired earlier this year, but probably 4 years ago, she was thinking about retiring. Now, she wasn't at retirement age, nor was she ready to retire, other than she was having some real issues with her hair, and it was thinning quite dramatically. So she went to see a dermatologist, who basically said, I will call your next point of call right now. You need to go straight there. And the next point of call was a wig maker.
Oh, really?
And our colleague didn't want to do that, but didn't quite know what to do. And it was about that time that we were starting in the skunk works with keraGEN-IV, and we came up with an early version of it, and our colleague started taking it. And 4 weeks later, her hairdresser said, what have you done to your hair? And look, it was green shoots, you know, there was just some tiny little parts going, but gradually that grew out. Now, as I said, she retired earlier this year, but it was under her own power. It was because her family demands were such that she had better things to do than come and work with us. And it was to be celebrated. And she retired with a full head of hair, which was just really lovely. So the emotions that she expressed to me were, I didn't want to go out. This woman is very active in the community. In her church, has a very widely dispersed family that you know, takes a lot of keeping up with. And again, it was like, I don't want to. I'm just gonna sit inside, you know. So it's a big deal, and the appearance and the way that looks. None of us want to have that our appearance is starting to dissipate, that our hair is starting to dissipate. So we have a really good impact, and it sort of motivates us and the people that work here, is that, you know, there is some good that comes from our products, but we really see it. We saw it right here.
Very gratifying. It is a big deal. It's definitely a big deal. So how does it work?
Well, that's interesting to a non-scientist. So we've done a lot of work, as I said earlier, in the medical side of things, and particularly around skin and skin healing. So our medical devices help skin heal, wounds heal, scar reduction, areas like that. And when we tested out what was happening, we noted that the material, when it was applied to a cut, was stimulating the production of collagens-IV and collagen-VII. And so we've got some really interesting clinical data that said after a couple of days against a control, the amount of collagen-IV that was being produced at the wound site was 3 times what you would expect, and therefore the wounds healed a lot more quickly. So what's collagen-IV? I hear you all asking, because we're all eating collagen. Well, the collagen that we eat predominantly is collagen-I or collagen-III. So they are the predominant collagens in the skin and in our flesh and so on. And so similarly, when we're getting collagen and we're eating 15 grams a day or 10 grams a day, it's collagens 1 and 3. And they sort of do things, but collagen-IV and 7 form the layer between the dermis and the epidermis and the skin. And as that layer becomes less strong as we get older, it leads to our skin sort of starting to sag. And in fact, beneath wrinkles, there is no collagens-IV and 7. It's completely disappeared. So it's a structural collagen that keeps our skin firm. So what we saw with that medical test was that this was stimulating the production of collagen-IV and 7, and that's what we're seeing when we ingest it too. So that firms up the skin, reduces the size of our wrinkles, but crucially with collagen-IV in particular is that it's a key structural element to the hair follicle. And as we get older, collagen-IV starts to disappear, and so our follicles start to kind of go to sleep. And sometimes they don't quite wake up. And so there's a phase that our follicles go through. It's quite natural. Hair does fall out. The collagen, the follicle goes to sleep for a couple of weeks, and then it bursts back into life and new hair starts growing. So that's quite normal. But sometimes it goes to sleep and doesn't quite remember to wake up, and that's because it becomes less healthy. So we've got some nice clinical data again showing the promotion of collagen-IV in the follicle, and there's some really nice example diagrams to show that, or actually slides from a clinical test. And so with more collagen-IV in our follicle, we've got a healthier follicle. Healthy follicle equals healthy hair. So the keratin that we're producing ourselves going through this collagen-IV in the follicle is nice and healthy and strong. So by the time our hair's grown out a few millimeters or a centimetre or so, it's effectively done its dash. It's not particularly living anymore. So that's why it sort of stays the same way. So as you start taking keraGEN-IV, as you've noticed over the last 18 weeks, the hair starts growing out, there's more of it coming out, and gradually your hair comes out stronger. So another example we have is of a woman who started taking this postpartum and really had never been able to grow her hair much past here, and was noticing there was a lot of breakage and so on. Having had her baby, all of a sudden her hair's down to here. She said, I've never had it this long, and it's sort of growing out. So it's just healthier hair and a stronger follicle, hair follicle that's coming out.
It's amazing. It's, you know, magical, really. Thank you for finding it. Thank you for discovering that for us.
Well, it had nothing to do with me, and quite frankly, it doesn't help too much, but it does help people that are naturally just starting to see a reduction in activity in their follicles. So we've got some really smart scientists here. I'm the pretty face at the front, but we've got some great science in behind showing what's going on.
It's working very well for you.
Well, thanks for pointing out that, but look, no wrinkles.
I love that. So just, I love that it's vegetarian and ethically sourced. So for the vegetarians among us, can you just explain that collagen keratin link?
Sure. So our wool is shorn from live sheep. We're certified by the Vegetarian Society. So not only do they look right, where does your core ingredient wool come from, but where do all the chemicals and so on that you use in the manufacturing process come from? So they wanted to make sure that our products and all of the chemicals that we use hadn't been tested on live animals, that they didn't come from dead animals. So having audited us in that way, they've certified this particular product as well as vegetarian. So it's sustainably sourced, a bit like your woolen, you know, the merino that you wear or the wool that you wear on a day-to-day basis. So that's the vegetarian side of things. Now, this is just pure keratin. So keratin, as I've described, our keratin promotes that production of collagen-IV and collagen-VII, those structural collagens, but we don't have any keratin in our preparation. So collagen, when we're eating it, will come from an animal that has been harvested or moved on. So whereas our keratin is sourced from wool. So as a vegetarian yourself, you're more than while it's an animal product, it's harvested sustainably from live animals.
That's wonderful. And no animals are harmed in this process.
That's right. Now, further to that, we also source our wool from regenerative farms. So regenerative is a move to, well, I kind of call it carbon positive farming, but it's a movement around looking after the soil first and foremost. And as we start to really grapple with the effects of climate change, having a very strong soil based on farms where they can get their way through droughts, where they can get their way through floods, is really important. And so they do that by drawing their a lot of the food for the soil from the atmosphere, as opposed to from fertilizers, particularly those made using petrochemicals. And it's a lot more natural way of farming. It encourages the use of animals. Animals are part of the natural landscape. So they're trying to return to a more natural method of farming, and certainly sequesters a lot of carbon as a side effect of the work they're doing. So we really love that approach. We're working on our own sustainability strategy, but being able to source from wool farmers that are farming this way is a really good start as well. So it's not just a sustainable resource, but it's actually a really positive, world-enhancing resource that we're getting our wool from.
Wow, more power to you. That's really great. Are these farms all in New Zealand?
Yeah, we don't use huge amounts of wool, so you know we don't take too much. But yes, there are farms that we go in and visit, that we build up relationships with. We really love being a part of what they're doing.
That's a wonderful story. So thank you very much for coming and spending time with us and sharing.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you, Jennifer.
We are so excited to launch Lotsalocks. There you go. It can be a tongue twister for us all, can't it? So I'm going to bid you farewell, MenoMe community, and we'll see you again very soon.